Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. My guest today is an actress and a convicted scene stealer. Rose Abdoo, you have been making your mark on TV and films for 30 years, most recently as Josephina on Hacks. You've been in Gilmore Girls, That's So Raven, Saved by the Bell, V, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it would take us the whole time to list all of your credits, but welcome, Rose.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you. So, Hacks has, this is incredible, 32 Emmy nominations for season 1 and 2. Are you still pinching yourself that you get to work on this amazing ensemble?
I am just pinching myself, but also congratulating myself because I saw the script right before the pandemic started. I auditioned March 4th. And my managers, I have to say, my agents and my managers were like, I don't know, this role it's another, I get a lot of Latina maids, to audition for. And I said, this is different. This is so different. I love the script so much. I just know this script is special. Plus it was a chance to work. It was called the Untitled Gene Smart Project. And I was just convinced it was going to be as special as it turned out to be. So I was like, I really can't pick them. I really, really knew that it was special, and it has exceeded everyone's expectations, I think. But
it's brilliant. And
I agree.
And what a group.
So, I agree.
So did they send you the script, or did you have to audition?
They sent the pilot script with an audition for, the character's name was Yanira, the housekeeper. And I read it and thought, it wasn't very big. And I said, I really want to be in this. And then they pinned me in May, and then we started shooting that November.
Which is great.
It took a while.
And it's become Josephina.
Yes. And I switched the name. My mother is from Dominican Republic, and her name is Maria de Los Angeles Ponzitio. And she had a friend in Michigan named Josefina Sosa. And she, they were kind of competitive. I just thought they gave me the opportunity. They said, Paul and Lucia and Jen said to me, is there another name that you would like even better? And I said, I can picture Jean yelling, Josefina, instead of Yanira. So they let me change the name.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you are not just the housekeeper. You are the head of the household.
That's right.
And basically a major domo.
That's right. Exactly. And that's a phrase that I knew because I had read a book about Marlo Thomas, and I knew that she had a major domo. And I loved, Family Affair, and Mr. French sort of ran the home. So in the audition on Zoom, I said to them, I see Josefina as sort of a Latina Carson from Downton Abbey.
Yes.
That he manages the entire estate. And they totally were like, yes, that's exactly what we had in mind.
So that was your point of reference.
Yes, exactly.
Are you bossy in real life?
My husband would definitely say.
And you say, I'm not bossy. It just, you don't do things right.
Listen, I don't talk fast. You listen slow. If it's not my way, it's no way. I'm a little bit bossy.
Oh my God.
I like things.
You talk fast. I talk fast and you listen slow.
It's like, I don't talk fast. You just listen slow.
I'm going to use that on my son.
Please.
That is.
Can I just fangirl out a little bit?
Sure.
Your son is the cutest. I know things about your family because I was an ardent watcher of the show you had with your mother. I call it Joan Knows Best. I don't even remember the real name.
It was called Joan Knows Best.
In 4 seasons, I was a devoted Fashion Police fan. To the point where the show was so important to me and my family. My mother had open heart surgery at the age of 86. And we were like, it was very touch and go. We didn't know if she was going to come out of it. She's in the hospital. And she turned to the nurse and said, "It's Friday? Oh, you have to put on the Fashion Police on the television."
I love
that. And that's when I knew she was going to be okay. So I was very, I just want to extend my sympathy to you. I've just met you, but I was so touched. Immediately upon the news of your mother, I went to eBay and I bought this piece from her Joan Rivers jewelry collection, and I treasure it. It's my Joan Rivers.
Well, by the way, we still have the company, so I'm going to send you stuff.
I would love, and then I have this. I got it at an estate sale. That's my Joan Rivers. I have this. And then I want to tell you, back to Hacks, David Miner, one of the producers from Hacks, we had a premiere party at Harriet's rooftop for season 1. We had to keep it small because of COVID.
Right.
And he got each cast member a Joan Rivers watch.
That's amazing.
How fabulous. And they were all different colors. So it became like a bidding war. I was trading with, Carl, who plays Marcus, and Poppy, who plays Kiki. I was like, no, because I had a red with silver, but I really wanted the gold with the purple. And so I just had to tell you that because it's a big part of.
I am so touched. Touched. Well, you want to feel crazy. Cooper's 21.
Oh my gosh. And he's just the cutest boy. But I mean, I haven't seen pictures of him since he's 8, 9 years old or however old he was.
He's an actual adult.
Unbelievable. And you look exactly the same. So
No, I don't, but thank you. It's just a nice filter. I've got Vaseline smeared on the lens.
The old Lucille Ball trick.
Yes, exactly.
I wanted them to shoot me through a pair of pantyhose. Exactly. That would be perfect.
Do you know that I was just in, we have a little Chanel makeup only store right near where I live. And I went in and I'm like, I think I need something with a little more coverage. And they showed me something. They go, it's like pantyhose for your face. I'm like, I'll take it.
I'm in.
It blurs everything.
The invention of HD for TV. Every time the camera's close, I go, could you pull back a little bit? Josephina has a lot of close-ups, I think. But then I think she doesn't have an ego about it. Josephina doesn't care.
HD destroyed a lot of women's careers. And all the makeup artists had to quickly learn because it is unkind.
So unforgiving. And who wants to see, even when I'm watching a nature show, I don't need every blade of grass. I don't need the football. I don't need to see the creases in their outfits. I mean, give me a good, Todd Haynes lens. I want the old magic of Hollywood with the blurred out.
Well, now they go in digitally and fix stuff with a lot of actors and actresses.
Oh, please bring it on.
Oh, I'm all about it. If I could figure out how to do that at home, I'm beyond, the Instagram filters don't help enough. They don't. So I just want to ask a couple questions about Josephina. She doesn't let anything slide and is tough. Is that how you run your own home? Because I'm just going to preface this question with I can't even call her my assistant. I can't even call her chief of staff. Sabrina's been with us for over 30 years. And she's tough. But I'm honestly, and people laugh, I'm scared of her. I am more worried about disappointing Sabrina than disappointing myself.
Everyone should have someone like that in their lives. I believe that. Yeah. That was my number. Yes.
Do you run your house like that? Are you the, HBOC?
Yes, I really am, because there are things like we got a little puppy in May. He's adorable, but he, I don't like the look. I don't want to see a plastic crate near my cute furniture. So my husband had a towel in there for him. Now he moved the crate. The towel is rolled up on a tray. I said, I can't look at the towel on the floor. The towel's on the floor. The towel's on, I have that. Everything has to be in place. And I don't know. Someone told me that's a very Sagittarian quality, but I love to fold things. I love the look of folded sweaters. I love coordinated shoes. I saw your Architectural Digest piece. I love the way your shoes are lined up. I know everything I'm to the point of being like a little bit of a stalker because I've looked in the inside of your home through magazines, but I love things in place. I'm
honored that you're my stalker.
I'm in there, Melissa.
I am honored.
I really love a kitchen that's organized. When I just redid my kitchen during the pandemic. I did a dark emerald green cupboard. And when I pull out the drawers, the dish towels are folded perfectly. So I feel like, yes, I know exactly. When Josefina's open, I really wish you could have seen that, what it looked like closer, because, we shoot a lot of things that you guys never get to see.
Right.
Deborah Vance's refrigerator is so organized. And I opened the door and the props lady came over and I said, this is exactly how I would do it. Exactly how I would do it. And she has all the cheeses and the little jams and everything is perfect in her house. You see Josephina just checking off a list of what Deborah might need from the grocery store. But it was so satisfying to look at it up close and say, yes, this is how I would do it.
And by the way, my mother's refrigerator was always a total shit show. And filled with leftovers. And you said about being a Sagittarius. Apparently my son, who's a Sag, does not have that compulsion to fold things. Okay. Just saying that.
Okay.
take me back to the beginning. You got your undergrad degree in communications, and then you were getting your MFA in acting, and one of your professors said you should do improv.
Yes. Frank Rutledge. He said to me, think about who you admire and just go do what they did. That's as simple. And I just thought, what? That's such vague advice. Like he was a very short, abrupt man. Just go do what they did. So I started to think about it and I thought, well, I love Gilda Radner. I loved Lily Tomlin. I loved, I'm from Michigan and they were from Michigan. So I thought, oh, they were funny ladies in comedy. And then I started watching. I remember Saturday Night Live wasn't even carried in Detroit. I used to watch it in New York when I would visit my cousins. And I was thinking, well, I like Second City. It seemed to be that the people I admired came from this place called Second City. So I didn't know how to drive, even though I'm from the Motor City. And I decided to move to Chicago. I had a friend who became a bartender at Second City. He said, Rose, there's not a lot of women doing it. There's not a lot of women. You should go. And I was like, all right. So I started taking classes there. Well, at the end of every level of classes, you can audition for the company. There were 350 people auditioning, and I didn't realize they were only choosing 2 women. And that round of auditions, Amy Sedaris and Rose Abdoo got chosen to be in the company. So I was very good company, very talented people. My first company was Chris Farley, Steve Colbert. I worked with Steve Carell. I mean, I was there when there were a real huge, Tina Fey was a little bit after me, but we really were there when there were so many people that went on to do, movies. Mike Myers, I used to watch him on stage all the time. And it was the late 80s, early 90s. And I decided to study at Second City, Chicago. Was the best thing I ever did.
Well, and people don't understand what a coup it is to be good enough. Like you just rattled off all these names to get. My mom came out of Second City.
That's right. I used
and
to
what
see
you
her
just
picture
said,
in the lobby all the time. Yeah.
But you just said something very interesting. Every cycle of cast that comes out of there, you go, holy shit, all of those people. I mean, did you realize at the time what a big deal that was?
I think I did because I loved Alan Arkin and I loved your mother. I loved Ed Asner. I loved, Alan Alda, the people that you would see on the list that came before. I was like, wow, this is, but while we were doing it, we were just a bunch of kids at the theater. It didn't feel that special, but it really was. I mean, people would call it, it's the Harvard of comedy. And
it is.
I'm so glad I did it back in the day before it got a little corporate, and it really was like a mom and pop theater back when I was doing it. And I was in the company called the ETC, which was more experimental than the main stage. The main stage catered towards all the tourists that come through Chicago. And we had a blast. I mean, the people I worked with still to this day are, we get together and just, it's the most fun you can have, it being with other improvisers. Well, some people would disagree, but I think it's the most fun you can have.
Oh yeah. Cause it becomes topping each other.
Yes.
What was your first real acting job? What got you your SAG card?
Oh my gosh. I love this story. A commercial for Oprah Winfrey's show got me my SAG card. All I had, oh my gosh, Melissa, you remember when city shorts were in, like the worst, like a linen, it was a suit, but then instead of pants or a skirt, shorts.
Oh God, shorts. Yes.
So hideous. And they put me in a pair of purple linen city shorts. So I was devastated that the wardrobe was so horrible. And an orange silk top, I remember. I can't remember I think it was 1990. And all I had to do was walk out, put a sign out of my store in the Brickyard Mall where they were shooting it. Oprah's on, closed, Oprah's on. The sign said closed, Oprah's on, and do it over. And I had no idea how many times you had to do things over and over. And I did it. On stage, I'm like, I did it. What does he need to do it again for? So many times. And the director kept going, you don't look excited enough. Think about a guest that would be on the Oprah show that you would be really excited to see. And so I couldn't think of anything. And at the time, I kind of had a crush on Michael Keaton. So I said, I don't know, Michael Keaton. That director, 37 takes, yelled, come on, and action, Rose, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton. To this day, I don't even want to hear the name Michael Keaton anymore. It was and then I see the finished commercial. It's just my boobs. Just my boobs. Piece of my chin and all of my boobs. And I had 3 guy friends from Second City who went, I think I saw your boobs on TV. And I was like, I'm so flattered that you recognize me. But that's how I got my SAG card.
But the funniest is you should have been thinking of someone that would be you'd be excited to see. You should have said me.
That's right. I was on the Oprah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
What was your first role? beyond boobs and chin?
I really think one of my very first roles for camera, well, I got cast off a tape, an 8-episode series that Robert Zemeckis was directing in a show called Johnny Bago, about a man chasing, he was on the lam, and I was an ex-mafia wife turned parole officer chasing her husband around the country in a Winnebago. So he had hit his head on the dashboard and it imprinted Johnny Bago, so that was his alias. It was very interesting show, and Robert Zemeckis directed it. I got cast 8 episodes for CBS off of a VCR tape. I made an audition on a VCR tape, and they cast me as the lead in that show. And I had no idea how big a deal that was, and how many people went for how many pilots just to get a series. I didn't realize it. I was doing a play in Chicago, and all of a sudden I'm in California doing this 8-episode series.
With Robert Zemeckis.
With Robert Zemeckis. Yeah, that was incredible. And I played 8 episodes of Beverly Florio. I'm going to get you, Johnny, ex-mafia wife turned parole officer. So it was baptism by fire, because I had to learn, how to drive, how to shoot a gun, how to all that stuff, really all at once.
Did you know how to drive before you came to California?
No.
People say learning to drive as an adult is terrifying.
Terrifying. I took it in school, but we were 5 people in a Chrysler Sebring, and they would let there was a girl in my car named Sigalit, and I used to call her Fig Leaf, and we were on the highway as 5 kids in a car with one instructor who seemed a little bit drunk, and he'd go, come on, change lanes. And it was terrifying. So I just stopped. I couldn't do it anymore in Michigan. So here I am. They said, Robert Zemeckis has just directed Used Cars. He had all these New York actors that didn't know how to drive. So you need to be honest with us. Do you know how to drive? I said, of course I know how to drive. Did not know how to drive.
Of course
not know how to drive. No, I had to take driving in 3. They were supposed to be half-hour lessons, and I took them in 3-hour blocks. My very first driving by myself in the car was to drive from the Universal Sheraton to Beverly Hills for my hair appointment for Johnny Bago. At Juan Salon or whatever. And I had to drive. I was terrified. And I drove home and thought, this is so difficult. And I realized once I got all the way back to the Sheraton Universal, I did not have the headlights on. I drove all from Beverly Hills with no headlight. It was terrifying, but I learned. Hilarious. I had this I remember they rented me like a Geo Metro or some stupid thing from it was 1991 or whatever. Anyway, I had to drive an Arizona patrol car. The first day, the director said, okay, so you drive and then hit that mark. So I'm like, not only am I driving, I'm having to hit camera marks. I said, how many of these cars do you have? Because I was like, I'm going to crash this into the street. So it was really scary. That was scarier than any of the acting. So in a way, I'm glad I didn't know how.
Yeah, I always find it interesting with adults. I have a friend who still is too scared to get on the freeway.
Oh,
getting on the freeway
I only
terrifies her.
Have to. Terrifying. Same. I need to meet her. We could have a support group. I absolutely hate it.
Oh, she hated it. I want to talk a second about Gilmore Girls. You were a big time fan favorite. And the Gilmore Girls fans are pretty intense.
They are.
Are you shocked about the loyalty of the fan base from that show?
In a word, yes. And I was very lucky to attend 2 fan festivals. And I remember the first year I got there and I said, what are all those people doing? And my husband said, this is your event. It was at a bookstore. It was like Meet Gypsy from Gilmore Girls. And I could not believe how long the line was. I just need to say, people waited in line. I think there were 1,600 people in attendance. It was a 3-hour greeting people, hugging them, taking pictures. And my mother-in-law visited. She said, I can't believe you didn't get tired. I said, I met people from all over the world. There were people from Brazil, people from London. And Melissa, everyone I met, I would hold their hands and say, there is no one I would wait in line for. Thank you. There is literally no one I would. Don't you have to pee? How could you wait in line that long to meet me? I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Isn't it mind-blowing?
It is mind-blowing, yeah.
What do you think?
Because they love the show. It's very comforting, that show. And I meet people who say things like, I watched it with my mother, and now my daughter's watching it with me. I mean, that's how long it's been on. They have generations.
We used to get that a lot for Fashion Police, but it's not because it was warm and fuzzy.
I was obsessed with it. I still have 2. I still have an old-fashioned TiVo, and I have 2 Fashion Police episodes on my TiVo that I will not delete. I mean, it was everything. That Friday night was everything to unwind with you and your mother. And I think part of it is people love mother-daughter shows. Like, that's why I never missed an episode of your show with your mom, because it's very comforting. And even if you have a good relationship with your mother or a bad relationship with you, it's comforting to watch that. And I meet people who say, oh, Gilmore Girls got me through, a health challenge or studying for my
it's
finals.
relatable.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. Really fun.
This cracked me up. You on your Instagram describe yourself as an actor and a miniature sculptor. Now, I'm just going to say on here, you seem to be a regular sized person, not miniature. So I'm not sure. There might be a grammatical issue somewhere in there because you are a sculptor of miniatures, not a miniature sculptor.
That's what it really should say. Yes. You're making me realize it really should say a sculptor of miniature items. You're right. I'm having a hot flash from this news, Melissa.
What the hell
if
is
only
that?
I had them with me. Well, if only I had them. You can go to at Rose Abdoo, RoseAbdoo, and see the pictures up close. If only I had them with me, I would be showing you right now. I started, I'm always on a diet, always.
God, I feel like you are part of our family every time. All my mother said her biggest always. Disappointment in life was when they stopped giving out diet pills. She's just like
relate to everything she said about dieting so much because my mother gave me clay one year and I thought, all right, I can't have chips. I want chips. I can't have chips. I'm going to just sculpt what I wish I could be eating. Well, then people started going, that's really intricate, Rose. There was a show in Silver Lake called the Miniature Show at an art gallery. This guy I knew was an artist. He came, he adjudicated my stuff. I got into an art show. So I sort of fell into it backwards, but I started sculpting the food that I wished I could be eating.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how it started. And I have to say, my plates, I've seen other miniature food sculptors. They're really incredible, but my plates really do make people hungry. They're very tiny, either each the size of a quarter. And I sculpt tiny.
Did you start full size and work your way down?
No, I can only sculpt very tiny things. I started a quarter size dish. I've always loved dollhouses and miniatures, but I can only work in tiny scale. Weird.
Well, it's because you said you always loved dollhouses and little miniature intricate things.
Right.
This is also because my eyes are getting worse and worse and worse by the day. How do you see?
Okay, Melissa, this is interesting. I have a great eye doctor. He said to me, as terrible as these are magnifiers, as terrible as your vision is far away, because it's terrible. If I don't have these on right now, you could be anybody. I have contacts in. I'm one of those people that is like probably, I don't know what legally blind the numbers are, but the object that some 20/20 person would need, I need that object 40 times larger than the normal person.
Okay.
That's how
bad. But in the distance.
The distance, the doctor told me as bad as your eyes are for far are as good as they are for close up. So I have superhuman close up to the point where when we got engaged, my husband took me to get the ring. I said to the jeweler, there's an occlusion in the diamond. He said, you don't have a loop. I said, I can see it. You're trying to sell me a diamond with an occlusion in it. I was there. I could have just trusted John to go pick it out, but I had to get in there. So that's how in his business I am. I even had to do that with my own ring, but I can see everything so tiny that there are certain sweaters you cannot wear to sculpt because the fibers from the knit come off and get in the clay and I can see it.
See, I'm the opposite. I can't, once you are past the length of my arm, you're in soft focus.
Right. But far away, I'm terrible. But
see, and I'm the opposite.
How are you with close? Oh, I see. Okay.
But I have, mother left me a loop, so I don't have to worry.
Valuable, very valuable. You must always look through a loop. Yeah. So I relax. It relaxes me. Then during the pandemic, of course, what were we doing? Everybody was binging things. I was making I thought, well, let me have a mouse drive a strawberry. I'm going to sculpt a mouse driving a piece of cheese. Well, what's to stop a squirrel from driving a peanut? And then it became people writing to me saying, why don't you make, a porcupine driving a piece of Black Forest chocolate cake? So I would, things like that.
I love the fact that it was all based on what you couldn't eat.
Mm-hmm. Then I made Ruth Bader Ginsburg to commemorate her driving a piece of New York cheesecake. So now if you look on Instagram, it's all little animals driving a thing that's food, but it's all food, all food.
All food. We have something in common, which you probably don't know. We were both on Celebrity Family Feud.
Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness. Now, who was on your team? Tell it all.
It was me, my mom, both my cousins, and Sabrina, who has been with our family for 30
Right.
something years, that my assistant that I'm terrified of.
Yes.
And
Now,
okay, first of all, and I was shocked how nerve-wracking it was. You can play any game show at home, you get on set, and even if you are used to being on set, your brain freezes.
100% agree with you. At one point, Jean Smart turned to me and she said, Rose, this is the most, she's like, I've done Broadway. This is the most tense you could ever be. On it, it's like everything falls out of your head. Is it the lights? Is it the music? Immediately. When he said, well, the question we had was, what would a plumber doing a magic show pull out of his butt or pull out of his ass?
Plunger.
What? Well, normal people would say a plunger. I think plunger was already taken, but I'm trying to think. So your mind goes, toilets, plumbers, magic. Steve Harvey calls on me and I say the tidy bowl man. Why would I say that? Why would I was horrified. The tidy bowl man. The audience is never going to say the tidy bowl man. Most of the people in the audience were like, what's she talking about? They're too young to even remember the tidy bowl man. I have no idea why, but he laughed. So that made me happy, but I'm still cringing. I did it in March. I'm cringing still to this day. It's so difficult.
We ended up almost killing each other. Our family. We ended up winning the whole thing for our charity and all that. But I was definitely feeling the pressure, especially in the final round, because as smart as my mom was, she couldn't help but go for the joke. So I knew I was carrying us in that final. I'm like,
you have to make your mind think of what the people surveyed would say, not the clever thing. So
I had our family practicing because I'm a little on the competitive side. And I literally was going to kill my cousin Andrew. I was going to kill him. And this is when Al Roker was hosting. And he would start everything with, good question, Al, or, well, Al. And in a commercial break, I turned around, enough with the fucking well, Al.
You were in it to win it. Melissa's like, I do not play around. But it is. And somebody asked me if I wanted to do it again. I said, it was so nerve-wracking. I would do it again just to redeem myself from Tidy Bowl Man. But I was the one who said weed, when it was like, what would you smell on your partner that if they went out? It's just like, it haunts you forever.
It really does.
Yeah. I love that. I love that we have that shared experience.
Yeah. Especially because I literally started to melt down.
Yes.
In commercials. Because
I
was like, I don't know who these people are. And if my mother doesn't stop trying to make jokes and that's why we lose, I was like, I almost hyperventilated, yelling, screaming at my cousin. And you're a doctor. How could you be this stupid?
I have friends that did it as a team. They didn't score 1 point, not 1 point. That's their legacy. I think it's the only team in the history of playing the game show that did not score 1 point.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew I would do better than them. But it's like, I would watch all those shows. Like when my dream is to be on a Match Game style show. Like I loved Hollywood Squares, Match Game, Password. Those are the shows I would watch after school. So I would love to be on. I'm actually going to be playing Pictionary. They asked me to play Pictionary.
That's amazing. I used to watch growing up. When you were homesick, you got to watch Price is Right.
It's right. Oh, I was good at Price is Right.
I always wanted to be part of that Showcase Showdown.
Me too. Oh, I love the Showcase Showdown. But sometimes they would show like they'd win a whole set of furniture. And I was obsessed. I said to my parents, well, what if they already have furniture that they like? Then what are they going to do with the new furniture? Then are they going to sell it? I was a really little kid and I was like, this is too much stuff to lay on people. What are they going to do with it all?
Yeah.
Like, I was really...
Well, do you remember on Wheel of Fortune when they used to have that you could go shopping?
Right.
I
would panic.
That was the best.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Are you going to the Emmys?
Well, I sure hope so. Last year, pandemic year, they had, it was very limited and they had to keep it to just the nominees. So I haven't heard anything. Would I know already? I wonder if we are invited. Okay. I haven't heard, but I would kill, that watching anything to do with red carpet. I've been devoted to really it was like more fun to watch the wrap up than it was to watch the actual red carpet. That's where I'm coming from. But now that I have the pressure, I've only done a couple of them. You really have to choose something that can be scrutinized from every angle, you know, and I realized like, oh my gosh, everything has to be a fabric that's not too shiny. I learned so much watching the show of what doesn't work. Like an outfit could look great in real life and then terrible in pictures sometimes.
Yes.
Like I wore a print to the HBO premiere and I loved, it was a little leopard print and I called it from the Deborah Vance collection, but I loved the dress. Well, not in every angle. Not every picture looks good in a print. And not every print looks good in a still photo.
Oh,
that's
for sure. And you have to look from every angle, and then you have to make the choice. Would I rather look good in person or in the photos? You know, it's a whole process. So if you go, what do you think you're going to wear? Are you going to go?
Well, I have to tell you, I have a friend who she was also a devoted fashion police watcher. And so another thing that I learned about the designers, because I'm Dominican, half Lebanese. So my friend Christine says to me, you have to call and get either Oscar de la Renta, who's Dominican, or Elie Saab, who's Lebanese. So I started talking to my friend and I said, I love Neem Khan. So I've started pulling different looks that I like. But I said, who do you call? Like, I don't have a publicist. So I have a friend who represents stylist and she's trying to work a deal to get me a loaner dress. Melissa, I started thinking about it this morning. I read 2 different books when I was a little girl, All of a Kind Family and a short story called The Necklace. And both stories were about people borrowing clothes and something terrible happening, either losing the jewelry or getting a stain on something. And I grew up like, you don't borrow clothes because what if something happens? You have to have your own everything. That way, if you spill something on it, you rip it, it's your problem. So this whole new borrowing a dress is a whole new thing for me. But of course, it's a fantasy of mine to borrow a Neem Khan dress. And I started thinking, I'm of an age now where before you'd have a special event, diet up to the point.
Right.
Like
dehydrate yourself. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And finally I can eat. And, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm 59 years old. So I said, what's to stop me from getting into a Josephina would wear a caftan and so would Rose, like I want to wear something loose, flowing, forgiving. So I saw a Neem Khan dress that I was obsessed with. So I have a friend who has another friend who's calling to try and see and make this happen. Then she said, how tall is this girl? I said, I'm 5'4". Well, the clothes are built for like, if you borrow something, it's for a person who's like a 6 foot tall glamazon. So I don't know what's going to happen, but that's my wish. I'm putting it out into the universe is to wear something flowy and caftan looking and maybe even a turban. I don't know. Wouldn't that be great? I wouldn't have to do my hair, a turban and a caftan.
You might as well just wrap it in a towel, go with it wet in a ponytail.
Wrap it up.
If you go, who are you bringing?
My husband, John. My husband, John, is a wonderful, we've known each other since 2001. We met. I went to an art gallery called Fake in Silver Lake. And I met him. We met December 1st, 2001. And we looked at 117 houses and we live at 1201. So I felt like it's, Bashir, it's just one of those things where he has been in my life since 2001. And I thought, I actually met someone. He said, I want to call you every day the night we met. And that could really annoy you if it's the wrong person.
Oh, yeah.
But I've talked to him every day since 2001. So he's the guy that sets up the Zoom for me and does everything. So he's my favorite. One of my favorite people.
Well, I figured out why I get along because Cooper's birthday is December 1.
Oh, 1201. I love it.
And 2000.
Wow. I'm all about the 1201. I'm really into numbers like that. And I think I get a special feeling when I see 1111 on the clock or I meet someone who's, a Sagittarius. I know a lot of people think that's, a crock or whatever, but I have friends that are November 28th, like me, 29th, 30th, December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So there has to be something to it because a lot of the people in my life are born really close to my birthday.
The most significant relationships in my mother's life, with the exception of Cooper, who was December, all January.
Interesting.
Her mother, my father, me, and the man she had a very long-term relationship with after my dad.
Very interesting. I believe there's got to be something to that because the personality traits are similar. I believe it. I like things like that. Well, I love things like this is where John and I completely disagree because I love mediums. I said, if it brings people comfort, who cares? He's like, no, he doesn't believe in it at all. I love things like mediums, horoscope, fortune tellers, tarot card readers. I love all that stuff.
Well, I always think it's the power of positive thinking.
Me too.
I'm just always scared they're going to be like, woo, look both ways before you cross the street. You know, like, I don't need to hear that.
You don't.
I have no. Rose, this has been such a pleasure. And after you have a wonderful time at the Emmys, will you come back and tell me what's in the good swag bag?
I would love to. I would love to. The Emmy gifting suites last year was like a lot of things that I gave to people because I couldn't use, but it was still so fun. I said, you know, the more success you have, people start giving you more stuff.
But also,
When you
yeah,
need stuff is when you don't have stuff.
you do all your Christmas shopping. It's the best. Give me another set of those headphones. I'll take.
I mean, how many beautiful giant scented candle things in a jar with a fancy lid can I use? I did give a few away. I must say.
That's the best. Rose,
this has been such a joy. I can't tell you how. I've always wanted to meet you, and I was just so excited when you. I cannot tell you enough how much of a pleasure this is for me.
Well, for me too. Thank you so much.